Hello and welcome everybody to the stream. Thank you so much for joining us as we talk today about the early access playtesting event that's happening next week. What you just saw there was a world premiere trailer of the Cryptoverse for the first time with more than one person in it. So hopefully you had a good chance to look at that and sort of delve into the frames at a later time, because there's a lot going on there and a lot to unpack. So that's really exciting. Today we've got Mal and Robbie joining us, Cryptoverse stream regulars, so you know these guys very well. Hi Rob, hi Mal.
Hello Dan, how are you?
Hello everyone, hi Dan.
Yeah, Rob, when I say hi, usually that's your cue to say hi back.
Yeah, Mal was speaking first. I was trying to be polite, you know. Hello everyone, great to be here.
No, thanks guys. Just for anyone new that's kind of not heard of us before, you know, the Cryptoverse is our photorealistic Unreal 5 metaverse with limitless possibilities. Rob, correct me if I'm wrong, but we've been building this for well over a year now. We've got a great diehard community of fans that keep us going, keep us honest. We're here today because we're opening up the Cryptoverse for the first time ever for, I guess it's public playtest, right? So for the first time ever, we're letting people into the Cryptoverse to try out a number of different features in the central business district area. They'll be able to drive, they'll be able to build, they'll be able to do it all together as well. So everything can be done socially in a social environment. It's going to be mad. I'm really excited. Mal and Rob, both of you, are you really excited?
Yeah, I mean, I'm so hype actually. I think, like, you know, for Mao, he's like obviously working really hard, really long hours to try and just pack in as much kind of content and exciting features for the users to get the teeth into as they can. So I think he's probably like, you know, flagging a bit his poor Mao. He's you know, we're all pushing hard. But obviously, like Mal being one of the leaders, is on the content side. He's looking a bit weary. You can see he's probably needs a little bit of a break soon. But yeah, I mean, we're all really, really excited. I think this for us gives us the first real good measure of, you know, how far we've come, getting the users' response, some really important feedback on what's been developed so far, what needs to be improved, any bugs. This is going to be the first real yardstick for that kind of, you know, understanding the community sentiment, and also understanding just kind of, you know, what's like, what's not liked, identifying these bugs. It's just, yeah, it's a really great opportunity. We've been building towards it for probably a year and a half now. I mean, active programming development and content creation probably about a year. But before that, obviously, there was a lot of planning, a lot of kind of team formation, structuring, documentation, and so on that was going on as well to enable that to happen. So, yeah, we've been working really hard for this for quite some time now. So we recognise that it's a work in progress. There's gonna be things that are frustrating for users at times. There's gonna be some bugs. We might witness some crashes. You know, we really don't fully you know, totally know exactly. We've done obviously quite a lot of internal playtesting for quite a while, and we opened it up to wider team and stuff lately. And you know, you know, we've had lots of positive kind of. You know, we've got a lot of positive feedback, and we've got a lot of positive, you know, outcomes. But again, it's another step up. It's more users from more places around the world, with more hardware, you know, more different types of software. So it's just each time you scale it, just there's just more to kind of consider. So yeah, very excited, but also a little nervous too.
Yeah, I think we're all a bit nervous, Rob. No, but it sounds like you guys are putting so much work here, and Mao, especially you and the team. Like, how proud of you are you of the team about what you've achieved so far and pulling this impossible metaverse together?
Well, first of all, I have to say I'm quite proud, right? Like, we're a small team and we have accomplished a lot. So I can't wait to give this to the people. It's our baby, so it's time that it flies, you know. So what I would like to is to give it to the community so they can test it, play around, go do things in the Cryptoverse, in multiplayer mode, so they can give us some feedback to basically to make a list of what to do next, right?
That's awesome. And Rob, what are you most excited about people trying?
We talk about this a lot, and it's like, you know, it changes because it's also like, you know, I'll be driving, I'll be like, this is the best thing ever, like no other metaverse has this, and I'm like, I love it, it's great. And then I'm like, this has got to be the best feature, and then I'll go and like start building, and I'm like, this is great fun, like this is so fun, and I'm like, this is definitely the best feature. And then it's like, so you kind of like flip depending on what you're doing, which is good sign, right? It just means that there's things that are enjoyable to do. um but I think, you know, I have to be completely honest. I think that the most powerful tool, which sort of straddles development and content creation and community, and has that kind of like that triangular sort of narrative, you know, like you know, the tripod requirement of it, balancing and supporting one another, is the builder tool, right? So I think overall, I'm excited to see how users use the tool, the feedback that's given from it. We know it's got quite a long way to go, but even in its kind of fairly early state, I think it offers more flexibility, more immersive and interactive kind of gamification and you know, social building opportunity than any other metaverse in the world currently. So even in its infancy, I'm still quite excited by it, and I'm excited for the feedback that comes back. I think the big thing is, I know, which I'm a bit nervous about, is the UI UX is currently still quite almost like developer-ish, to be honest with you. So I know it's going to take users a little bit of tinkering and a little bit of perseverance to actually unlock the kind of full flexibility of the tool. But ultimately, like when you've got like these people in and they're all building together, I'm really excited to see what people are building and how they're using the tool, and you know, what shows up.
Yeah, and the thing about UX is the best way to improve that is what, to get people to test it and tell us how it works, right? So I guess doing this now is going to get us that feedback to get us to that kind of next stage there with that part of the package. Mal, for anyone that doesn't know, we recently released our kind of .fbx files, which allow people to start kind of putting together their own designs on their land. What is next with that? So a lot of people have been asking for all the different dimension sizes. Is that something we're going to be able to provide shortly, or when do you see the rest of the details coming around that?
Sure. We just exported the FBX file. With the FBX file, you can basically import in any 3D content creation application like Maya, Blender, Houdini, anything out there. But basically, the land is the shape and the size that you're going to get in the Cryptoverse. So the thing is that it's located in the actual place where the land is going to be. So it's quite far from the center of the world. So the first tip that I can give to people is to center their FBX file to the center of the world, so they don't have to be moving all the assets that they produce to the right location. Once whatever creation they do is all packed, then we can move again all this content to the right location. But for now, it's a placeholder for reference.
That makes sense. So it's a good starting point, right, for people to start building.
Correct.
Rob, would you say then the MVP? I'm probably getting ahead of myself now. Once the MVP is released, early access playtesting event goes live, is the next step to give people their land, start building on it, right? Is that the kind of next step?
I think that's the next major goal, is to get people in a more scalable way, and able to actually start using the builder tool to deploy content on their own land. That sounds simple, but it's not. You know, there's so much going on to enable that to happen. For example, ownership of the NFT, ownership of the land, you know, the different authentication protocols to kind of like demonstrate provable ownership of that land, who can and can't build on it. And then obviously having friends to collaboratively build, you've got some more considerations there. So that's straight away one thing. You know, the second thing is as well, like you need to have like obviously like a base terrain and whatever else to facilitate you know, people go into that area. You need to provide some sort of way for them to get there. If it's the other side of the hub, when people are in playtesting, they'll realize that just getting to the other side of the CBD is going to take them 20 minutes, and we don't have infrastructure in place for transport currently, which we talked a lot about. So, if they're going to be teleporting, how are we going to enable them to do that? Again, do they need to demonstrate ownership? Then that's not even thinking about the networking, right? Right now we're utilizing by and large, just for that kind of ease of onboarding for the user experience, Epic Online in many cases, Epic Online services. That comes with restrictions and limitations about with regards to numbers of users as well. So you've got to think about networking and how that's going to work in terms of enabling users to come on. So really, there's a host of things that we need to do to be able to get to that to that goal. I ain't even sort of referenced here, scaling the content that's available to be used to build with. I ain't talked about improving the UI UX. I could go on, and obviously these are all kind of developer challenges, but I just wanted to say that even though the tool's kind of there, and obviously we've got achieved a really phenomenal first step here, even to get to that next goal of get people in, get them using the tool, get them building on their own parcels, is a big piece of work. There's lots of different facets. Wallets. We don't want, we want users that are not familiar with crypto to be able to come into the metaverse. It's really important for adoption and scalability. So, we've developed our own custodial wallets. It all needs to be hooked up, and that there's further work needs to be done there on the blockchain side. So there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, so there's a lot of next steps basically, but it sounds like the team is going to be very busy over the next 6 months trying to pull all this together, which is great.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We haven't even talked about content scaling, of other kind of land areas. CBD even is not going to be in its finished state now, or when 6 months down the line. CBD will need to constantly evolve as well, because you constantly want to keep the content fresh. You constantly want users and businesses and brands or whatever it is to come in and deploy content. So they want users, they want a vibrant, active community and areas, and without content and without kind of experiences, you're not going to have that. So it's a real kind of it's a real scalability and a real juggling challenge. Really, we have to kind of spend the right amount of time in the right areas in order to kind of optimize our development pipeline to be delivering various aspects, various pieces of content, various tools, various kind of features in a timely fashion. So yeah, huge challenges, but we love it. We've always thrived over being very ambitious and being driving to be the best.
Yeah, of course. That timing is everything, right? As well, like you almost want to open up Cryptoverse in those kind of phase stages, because if you were to open the whole world now anyway, it would need a lot of land. People need to build on it first. So you don't want to open a metaverse and have nothing to do, right? So I think it's so perfect having CBD area first, then letting people do their land. So when we do open it up, there's stuff to do, and that's keep people coming back for more. That's when you get more partnerships, etc., etc.
Yeah, I think what one of our big goals will be to get initially the hub, get the hub kind of placeholder terrain, get the CBD really solid, fix and improve the current features we've got, and get to that stage of getting users in to deploy content in their own land in the hub, and then we can kind of use that model then, and we can move to kind of different land areas, right? Different zones. So that's the rough roadmap, but we have to be flexible. We just don't know what sort of issue is going to get thrown up at any one moment in time, and if it's game breaking, you have to jump on it, right? So metaverse breaking, it has to be jumped on. So we have to keep nimble and flexible.
Awesome. And so thanks for that, Rob. So just to anyone that isn't aware yet, the MVP is launching next week on the 25th of January. So if you haven't signed up yet, you can do so still. We're going to be announcing who has made it through to the playtest on this Friday. So please sign up before then, so we can, and then you'll get an email if you've been successful with all the details, how to join, when to join, what you need to download, etc., etc. So we'll make that very clear. So make sure you sign up before the end of the week, so we can give you that yes, which is what we want you to do. One of the things that I've been asked about a lot, and what I've seen in the chat, guys, that is around the builder tool, right? That's what people I think are most excited for. So if you go back and look at that trailer afterwards, you get to see it actually. Let me put it up on the screen, because I'll show a little graphic from that trailer. Let's see. Here you go. Actually, you can see there. That is wow. That looks like someone's built a house, Rob. What was happening exactly?
That's Mao going crazy with the builder tool in our last playtest. Yes, you built that, didn't you, Mao? You just built yourself a little house.
I think so, but this was just a test of building with a cube. So basically, that one cube that you have there is used in all those locations to create that house, and you have a feature where you can remove the cube. So the windows, the door, and the entry is all done by subtracting the cube from those instances. So you can see that doing a house is quite easy.
Yeah. So that was from a recent playtest that happened, I think, just very recently. One of the, I guess, one of the questions that we've got then around this is around the builder tool itself. So other than cubes, Mal, Rob, are there going to be spheres, cylinders, an assortment of different shapes that you can enlarge and make smaller? How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, Mal might even be better placed to answer, but in short, the answer to that question is yes. There will be, basically, the builder tool will contain, like, the key basic shapes you'd expect. I think most people were messing around with a cube because it was the first time using the builder tool and whatever. And honestly, probably 90% of the world is made up of square kind of, not Cryptoverse necessarily. I mean, the real world. I mean, if you look around you, it's typically square things, right? Your phone's a rectangle, and my desk's a square, and my monitor's a square. And so I think mostly people use squares to build stuff. But yeah, there is also other shapes. There are like L shapes. There are I'm not sure
cylinder.
if we've added,
but the idea is that you're going to have a bunch of options, right? The thing is, we have to curate. But in the builder tool, if you don't want to build the whole house, the idea is that you can just drag and drop one, pre-made for you.
So the idea be like, that there'll be kind of really like bespoke buildings created by our content team. Some we would just offer users for free if they're not kind of wanting to get too involved and just want to place all the content. Some we might offer as a purchase opportunity, or kind of like on a subscription basis. Some the long-term goal is to obviously get people being able to create their own and put them on the marketplace once it's gone through the checks by our content team, and they can sell, and you're creating an economy for content as well. So a creator economy. So these are all kind of small, short, medium, long-term goals. But the idea would be that the builder tool would essentially continue to evolve and be curated more strongly as time goes on. But some of those basic shapes that you've just asked a question about, yes. In terms of making them bigger and smaller, probably not so much, because then you end up with a little bit of a hodgepodge worth sort of like content, where things don't sort of maybe fit together very well, and also the engine can't maybe process it in the same sort of way. So if you have a square and it's this size, you wouldn't want to there's no opportunity to kind of just multiply it by say point. If I wanted to multiply it by 0.17, it's a random number, which is no good for the engine. But if you wanted to, as you can see here, that those on this image, where you see the long stacks, that's just the same cube kind of added on top of each other, and then that way you're creating a rectangle, and you're also increasing the size. So you can you can use the tool, in order to kind of multiply sizes, but not in the way of just like a bespoke size per se. That would be more along the bespoke content rather than straight out of the builder tool, because that would cause kind of serious challenges for content creation and also scalability. Mao, do you want to input?
No, that's great. Well put. And what you were saying earlier, for a content creator, remember, this is like a blank canvas. It's a platform for people to create, right? So if you're a creator like myself, it's just like hearing good news, right? Because if you can develop your own things, you can put them there. It's down the road, but you're gonna be able to do that, right? So this is why the builder tool is such an amazing feature, right? We're gonna try to pack as much content as possible there, but the idea is that later down the road you're gonna be able to create your own things, right, and upload. So if people like your content, there is a lot of ways to monetize.
That's money to people's ears, music to people's ears, but also money. So just following up on that, then, guys. So Robbie, I guess in your own land, there might not be any kind of limitation in terms of shape sizes, but more so probably here because it's a social place as well. This is a social area to build in, but your own land, more customizable options.
Sorry, I'm not sure I understand the question there, Dan. Apologies. Can you reword for me slightly, or repeat in some ways?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll put the subtitles on if you want. Just checking. So I get the idea that in the MVP, in the early access playtesting event, you've there's a limit to how big the shapes can be and like how big you can make them, right? But when you're building on your own land, I guess, will there be a case where it can be kind of those limitations like unlocked? Basically, there's no limits to size because you're doing it on your own space, essentially.
I'm not so sure what you mean by size. I mean, like, take this for example on the screen in front of you. You can stack them on top of each other, right? And then you get the effect that you want. If you want to, there's no kind of like, you can't, let's say, as part of the build tool, you can't click that item and then say multiply by 1.165832 recurring, because it's not a workable or scalable number or metric.
Yeah.
This is not how like mass worlds are scaled and built. It's just there's no amount of computational power in the world that can facilitate that happening currently. Maybe unless you're like NASA or someone, I don't know, but it's not feasible. But you can create like bespoke content, deploy that onto your parcel, yes, but then the tools that we would be building would check that content to see if it's been built in a logical way, like and a scalable way that the engine's going to be able to cope with. There'll be some smart tools that will do those checks. That's the idea, and then it'll throw up like a list of, look, dude, you need to change this, and this, otherwise the world's not going to be able to cope. The engine will not be able to cope with that. So the only kind of caveat to this is, and this would be maybe way down the line, is that if we ever get to a stage where you've got a really powerful kind of decentralized infrastructure for like server and kind of content, you enabling users to kind of host their own content, at that stage it becomes a little bit more feasible to consider that sort of flexibility, because you wouldn't have like $1 million a week server cost, for example, or you wouldn't have kind of like such huge challenges of lack of compute. But the reality of it is that even in that scenario, you might end up with an uncurated, unsatisfying kind of environment and world. So it's a process, and you can't. There's no point trying to, never mind even run, there's no point trying to run a marathon if you can't even pull your backside off the couch. You know what I mean? You just have to be sensible.
Okay, so it sounds like it's a building process, essentially, quite literally and metaphorically, in that sense. We get some questions coming that I think it's worth addressing, and if anyone does have any questions, chuck them in the chat. This is what this is, right? We want to talk to you guys. We don't just to listen to my rubbish questions. You guys have got the real stuff. So CryptoMonk asks around kind of, and Fitz P as well asks, will people be able to build underground? Will people be able to make shape the ground so that they could do a pond or add water? Is that kind of a next level stage thing?
It's a really good question, and Mal's probably got a better technical answer for me than I do. The short answer is not for quite some time or straight away. For something like a swimming pool, you'd raise it off the plot that you've got, and then you'd build the pool in that way. It is possible. I mean, like for example, in this free fly mode, we've got a free fly mode to some extent in the builder, which won't be enabled generally, but just for the purpose of this builder, we've got it. And we can fly under the underground, underneath. But there's no the content starts here on this layer where you've got your kind of terrain and your collisions for the geometry. There's nothing underneath it, so it's just an empty kind of chasm. And the issue is that having content that goes below that terrain can cause kind of lots of challenges with glitching, but also in terms of the scale, like how you program the the kind of the build heights and the polygon counts, and also around ownership as well. You own the parcel on the terrain, or for that, and that NFT represents that. You've got lots of governance related questions about like underground from that plot as well. There's quite a few different factors to consider, and again, it's not impossible. Nothing is impossible. It's a virtual world, but certainly based on the number of technical challenges that you'd have in the short term, is not something that we're kind of looking to enable in the short term. Mao, you want to maybe add to anything I've said there?
You said it really clear. I think right now, we need to start somewhere, right? And the moment we're starting on zero, like Rob was saying, and everything that we're doing is adding on top. If we want to do something under, we need to remove that bottom layer, let's say, and do some. It's possible, but then we need to start opening questions like, there is a relation with the area that you own as a landowner and the height that you can construct, because you can buy a small piece of land, and then if there is no height, you can build infinitely up, right? So we have this height relation with the area of your parcel, but this is considering only constructing up, not down. If we want to do something like a pool or a pond or stuff like this, we need to create a piece that basically is carving but is already elevated. So you will need to have like a platform or something like this that then you can go under. But that should never go under zero, let's say. We're not going negative in height. So far, I guess at some point it will open.
That kind of answers Fitz XP's question, actually, then. So they kind of make the point that if you build on top of your land, you can kind of simulate the idea of being underground, can't you? If you start at that 0 point.
Correct.
Yeah. It's all possible. Literally anything is possible. It's a virtual world, but it's just about what is sensible, scalable. What programming rules that we're implementing and so on. It's like if you wanted to enable underground building, then you're changing all the programming rules. It amends all of the features, and then that changes all of the polygon. There's a lot that affects. It's this is why there's no other metaverses like that have already come before us that have addressed that, because it brings up a host of challenges around ownership, around programming, and around and content. It impacts a lot, and it's possible to address, but for the amount of time, effort, energy it would take when we're so early on, it's not a it just shouldn't be a priority. At the end of the day, if like anything, if the community said, yeah, we want you to spend 6 months building it so we can build on the ground, fine. But then you're impacting the roadmap so significantly when it's really there's strong enough workarounds for quite some time. It's not worth the time, energy spent to do that than losing kind of development focus elsewhere.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. I think that's clear. It sounds like you say anything is possible, right? It's just about picking what's the most important things to do right now.
Yeah, we need to pick our battles because I'm reading in the chat if we cannot do an underground garage, for example. So at the moment, the answer is no, but nothing is preventing you to do a building up of, how many garage you want, So it's up to you.
Thank you, Mel. Peter E Multiverse asks whether they'll be able to import their own pre-made 3D structures during this playtest.
No, not during this playtest. No, this playtest is like, there's 4 or 5 different features in particular we want users to kind of get the teeth into. Importing custom content is not, we're not there yet.
It's in the road, but
it's on the roadmap, yeah.
but not for the first version. It's just there's
yeah.
just not too much on. But we're talking too much about what we cannot do, and why don't we talk about what we can do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. With the custom content stuff, it's like, until you've got the rules, you understand the scalability, how the engine works, the programming and such. It's like, there's such a lot to do before you get to a point of opening the floodgates for people to be kind of, deploying custom. You need a really strong curation protocol. You really need a really strong kind of programming tools, automated programming tools. If we just said, yeah, all 3,000 users just submit custom content right now, the team will be doing nothing other than reviewing custom content. Even if it was like 100, right? Like, there'd be no other roadmap goals. All the features would pause. The bugs, there'd be bugs after bugs. There'd be issues with scalability. The loading issues, graphics issues. Even if people have got the most powerful machines in the world, it wouldn't load, or you'd be operating on 5 FPS. It's like, I can't even begin to explain the amount of it would just break everything. So not yet. It's just not ready yet. But it will be once the tools that we need for automated tools, which enable for automated checks and to tell users to change things, and once the team's in a position that the features are solid enough that they can spend some time reviewing content that's coming in as well, and we're confident in that curation process, then it will be. But I would not expect that before, sort of maybe not even this year. But if we start to look at it this year, then it'll be at the back end.
Thank you, guys. I think Mal, you touched upon a good thing there as well. Let's talk about what we can do, right? So keep your questions coming in. We'll answer them as we go along. But the avatar creation tool, guys, that's looking pretty slick. I'm trying to find it right now because I know there's a little clip of it here. Here we go. You can see there. I think the UI is looking pretty nice, to be honest with you. I know that during the event, what we're going to have is a lot of different competitions. So Rob, I see Rob asked a bit earlier around what are you going to be actually doing during the early access play test? Because I think that's important, right? We don't want you to come in, look around and go, right, what now? So throughout the playtesting event, from the kind of first day all the way till the end, there's going to be different opportunities to get involved in competitions. For example, like, who can create the most creative avatar, right? So you've got all these tools, create the best one, take a photo, share it, we'll give away some land, right? So same thing, who can create the best structure. So we've got a bunch of different ongoing events, and we'll release a schedule beforehand that every single day there'll be something new to do. So we don't ever want it to be like, okay, looking around, I'm bored. There's always going to be something to do in Cryptoverse, and that event schedule is going to be released. But Rob, talk me through the avatar tool. How's that coming along?
It's coming along really well. Our developer, who's been working on it for personal reasons, had to reduce the time that is working with us at the moment. So sadly, it's not as polished as we would have liked it to be. But that said, like, it works, it's functional, and it's fun to play around with, and kind of customize your character, customize your avatar. It acts as a really good kind of like signpost and a really good kind of base point of what is possible with the avatar tool, and how users can kind of like create refine their like digital identity of themselves, their digital selves and such, and it'll show what's possible to come in terms of wearables, and in terms of kind of like how much you can kind of play around with and customize in terms of the colors. And also it demonstrates something again that's not really been seen in any other metaverses, not only the flexibility of the tool, the fact that it's more flexible than any other avatar tool I've seen. B, it's in real time. C, it's pretty powerful. It's pretty powerful in terms of photorealism. Those things on their own, should give people a really kind of exciting opportunity to play around with the avatar tool.
I'm just skipping here to like a point where you can see lots of different people kind of looking a bit different, to show you how already, like, we've just had that bald guy, I think, for such a long time that it's really exciting just to see people dressed in, I think that's Mao's like personal avatar as well, that he's turned everyone into. Now we've got like everyone with different style, and it already looks really cool seeing everyone in their different outfits.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, this was from last week. I think, well, remember, we are going to start with 2 generic characters, right? The male and the female, but you can customize those. So that's what you're looking at over there. So there's a lot of variations. You can change the skin color, the gender, and we're going to expand on having custom wearables. The idea is to have a lot of characters eventually, right? So one step at a time.
No, it's looking, when I see the playtest happen, the one that we did internally, it was like there was such a wow moment when I see like lots of people in Cryptoverse for the first time.
Yeah.
Like, how did you feel when you I guess seen like this happening, for example?
It was just fun. I mean, exciting and it was fun. I mean, we had like several developers from a team who we have a good relationship with come in as well, gave us some really good kind of early feedback. And they were excited, and they're developers, which goes to show that they were impressed with what they've seen. And I think people just had fun. Like, they had a laugh running about, people getting a bit lost because there's not really much in the way of like, where the hell I am right now in terms of like a mini map and stuff. So that there was fun about people had to go and find each other and be like, it's over this way, dude, where are you going? And there was just a lot of social interaction, which is the whole point. That's where the fun should start, with social interaction inside any metaverse, and then you add the gamification layers and the features. And I think we've got a long way to go to make it more and more fun, but the early signs are that we're getting it right in terms of the social possibilities to begin with, and people just having a laugh. And for example,
exactly.
we have some.
If I can give a little bit of context on that slide that you were before done, the people here were going to an art gallery. So this one that you were looking at is an art gallery, and it was very fun to see one of our artists showcasing his artwork, right? And what is cool about this is that we all can go to a place and we can all look at the same thing, and we can all like say, okay, what to do next in this area, for example. And with the community, it would be really cool to have some sort of feedback in that sense, right? That everybody can go there and they can say, hey, you know what? It would be really cool if we can do X, Y, or Z in this corner here. What do you think? And maybe it's very popular opinion, right? And that's why we want to get this to the people, right, as early as possible, so we can also start getting their feedback, right?
Yeah, that's correct. So there's going to be a couple ways you can leave feedback during the early access playtest. So you'll be able to do it in Discord, where you'll be able to chat kind of directly to the developers at the same time. So you can leave your feedback there. There'll also be forms that you can use if you're not on Discord. So we're going to give everyone the chance to kind of tell us what they think, what they think needs improving, what needs to be different, or what they'd like to see, because that's what's going to, the metaverse is for everyone, right? It's not a single vision. Well, apart from Mr. Rob Cochran over here, of course, but it's not really a single vision at all, is it? The idea of a metaverse is it's everyone's, certainly ours.
Yeah. I mean, I think when I wrote the light paper, I think that the thing that I pointed to mostly is that the whole point of Cryptoverse, and in my opinion, any metaverse should be, it's composed of collective imagination. So, you know, I am one brain. There's this whole thing of like, you know, 2 heads are better than 1, 1,000 heads are better than 2. It goes on and on, and ultimately this world, this Cryptoverse is hugely ambitious. The size, the sheer size is huge. You would need a team bigger than Meta, you know, to actually reasonably scale all this with one team. And even then, you know, good luck. So it's vital that the team, that the community are part of building this world out. It's not non-negotiable. If they are not, it will fail. So that's why our big focus is on getting that collective imagination, but we have to do it smartly. It has to be done in a curated way, because otherwise, you know, it will fail. So it's vital, but it's vital as well that it's done in steps and smartly.
Yeah, of course. What are we looking at here, guys? This looks like you kind of had a little bit of a race last week.
Yeah, one of our main, the lead programmer on the project, put some different settings on the cars, so you didn't know which car was faster than the other one. So everybody jumped on the cars and okay, let's make a race. And just by luck, some cars were faster than others. So this is what you're seeing here. We made a race. I was not in the car; I was running behind. So yeah, of course, I was the last one. But we have cars in the Cryptoverse because the space to cover, the distance to cover, is quite vast, right? So the cars will make you transport much faster than if you're going by foot, of course.
Yeah, no, Mao, I thought you said, I remember you were arguing with Nicola about who was going to be the, you know, the girl at the start who does the, you know, 3, 2, 1, go. So that was, that was quite funny. But people really enjoyed the cars too, right? Again, it needs work, but it's just, you feel the benefit of the vehicles as soon as you get into the Cryptoverse, and it's like, okay, I need to go over here for whatever, right? So.
Yeah, it's looking. Everyone I've spoke to that's tried it out so far, the question that I ask people is it fun to control? Like, I don't kind of ask like how it looks or whatever, I go, but is it fun to like be in the car? Like, is it follow the fun? That's what I always heard when sort of, you know, researching games and marketing and stuff. So we keep saying yes. So I think that's a good sign. They could be lying to me, Rob, but you know, I think they're telling the truth.
I not one person who's been in hasn't said like I'm impressed and like I enjoyed it. And yeah, we know it's bugs, we know that it needs improvement, we know we know these things, and therefore the feedback that's about improvement is key too. But I think the main thing is, if just from the very start, very off, it's sociable, it's fun. People will persevere, you know. People persevere with the bugs, and they'll still enjoy it, and then, you know, they'll look forward to what's to come and getting more involved and stuff. So yeah, it is fun. Every time I go in, I have fun. And yeah, hopefully the events that we put on will give people a bit more purpose. Because I guess this is one of the things that I've been really kind of keen to do, is to make sure there's things for people to do, because metaverses are a blank canvas. And just asking people to imagine something from scratch about what I can do is very difficult. People need a bit of signposting. So we tried to give things that are like a signpost of what can be done, and how it can be fun, and give some initial tools that are kind of like critical infrastructure stuff for them to have a play with. But this is just, it's not even scratching at the surface of what is possible. It's really not. It's just the very kind of like beginnings of how far it can evolve.
Yeah. I feel like the social aspect, like you say, is going to be so crucial. And I think it's going to be amazing to watch everyone come in and to see people interact with each other, and hopefully make some friends for life, you know, in the process.
Yeah, and I mean businesses as well. I mean, you think about how many emails I get about, you know, from the Web3 space. Oh, we're holding a virtual event, and this virtual event's on Zoom, or I don't know, like there's other kind of like these websites, and it's like, yeah, we're holding this virtual event where we're having like a talk like we're having right now, or StreamYard, and all these like all of these places that it's like we have these virtual meetings. It's like, well, we're going to be able to enable people to have virtual meetings in the metaverse, in the cryptoverse. No other, you know, no other kind of metaverse is really sort of like nailed this yet. And I think
That's what you have there. That's the auditorium.
Yeah, that's why I pulled it up. So, but I think behind on that screen, you can kind of see in the far right hand corner there is I think, live PowerPoint or something, a presentation that is going on. And that was really interesting as well. Like, people that I spoke to were like blown away that they were getting a presentation live in real time in kind of, a metaverse. Which is awesome to hear, right? Because then it's, you might think that sounds a bit low key, but actually people are super excited about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, even though it's like it needs refinement as a feature, I was like, it's already got some pretty cool flexibility. You're able to kind of change your viewpoint from full screen to like over shoulder to straight on, and that in itself is quite impressive. So if you think about, if you're a business, you're a brand, or even if you just want friends around, and you want to kind of give a presentation, a business meeting, host it in the metaverse instead of Zoom, and what these types of things, you think about the amount of potential this has. It's really quite exciting. So as a landowner, you think, you'll have the ability to kind of deploy these virtual meeting spaces as well. So yeah, it's really quite exciting.
Yeah, I think it looks awesome. Good question from Crypto Monk here is, how long will the playtesting be open for? Open till, I think it's picked up on a purposely vague set of marketing around this.
Yeah, well, it's vague because we haven't opened up to this size before. So if there's something that is absolutely metaverse breaking, it might need to be cut slightly short if it is just destroying the user experience. If that is the case, then we would try and plan in another opening for it, like several weeks or a month later. But the intention is 1 week to 10 days. We haven't put a hard date on it. It really depends on how much feedback is coming in terms of work for the programmers to kind of evaluate. And how much users are enjoying it as well. Like if we're having few bugs and few crashes and users are loving it, we might keep it open a little bit longer. But if we're finding we're having a lot of crashes, a lot of networking challenges because of the sheer volume of numbers, we might cut it slightly shorter. So roughly we're aiming between 7 weeks to 10 days. Is that the right thing to say, Dan?
Yeah, that is right. That's what I've got written down as well for that. So I think we're on the same page there. Another good question, actually, it's from FitzXP, was around, will we be able to save our creations? So if we're creating something in the building tool, will they kind of get wiped, or is there any way to keep them, alive?
Well, essentially, because it's a centralized server, we anticipate that your creation will be there indefinitely. However, because it's a collaborative building space, me and Mal were doing this to each other the other day. Like, we were hopping up on boxes to try and get to the top of the height for the build tool, and we were deleting each other's boxes so we'd fall down. So because it's collaborative, right now we've got no ownership or controls over who can control the content based on who placed it and so on right now, because again, that's just another networking challenge, another ownership challenge that we haven't addressed yet or developed. You might have some trolls in there, and that you're just gonna have to kind of have fun and deal with that as much as you can. So yes, theoretically it will stay until at such a point that either the server has been restarted, there's been a crash, or somebody trolls you and deletes your stuff. I would suggest that we are thinking or we are planning to have a hard server reset probably every 24 hours. So I wouldn't expect your creation to be there longer than 24 hours anyway. It's all about testing, seeing how it feels, enjoying it, and of course we want to do a little bit of like fun content creation around that, i.e. like a competition. But it is just all about that kind of like, how are you finding it? What's your feedback? What cool stuff have people built? Because the truth of it is, in a collaborative building space like this, you're never probably going to get to a point where it's like what you place is your ownership. The ownership stuff will probably come in your own parcel, where it's like, okay, nobody can build, I'll modify this area but me, based on my authentication. Unless I invite somebody into that space to do collaborative building, then they will also be able to build in that space and support you with that building. So that's the kind of the idea, or that's the plan for how that's going to be developed and programmed. Hope that makes sense.
It does make sense. And actually, the chat pick up on an interesting thing here around like, okay, if we don't own this area of land that we're building on, how do we have a building competition when someone's just going to come in and grief it, right? Minecraft style. So no, it sounds like that's what you two are going to be doing anyway, Robbie and Mal, just griefing everybody. So,
Mal Mosso, he started it. I mean, no, I think that's kind of part of the competition. How cool, what can you build whilst somebody might be griefing you a bit. I mean, it really depends as well on what time you're on and stuff as well. There is going to be caps on how many people we have on one server, so it's not like you're going to have 500 in this one space at one time and like one troll deleting everybody, all 499 other stuff. You're going to have kind of like max of around 50 per server probably. So it depends on what time you're building. Not everybody's forced to be in the builder area at one time as well. People might be on cars. They might be having a look at the presentation tool. They might be climbing buildings. They might be looking at artwork. They might be messing about with their avatar. They're not all forced to be in the builder tool at one time. So time it well. Look for when there's few people or not many people are out in the particular area of the builder tool. And good luck and Godspeed.
Yeah, like so we are obviously we're aware of those limitations around like people griefing you. I guess it's just trying to work around that. And there'll be plenty of time for you to try and get something done as well. And
remember the username, and we'll when eventually we do implement Prana, eventually, if we've got multiple reports of this username, then we can like start them off on a negative Prana or something like that, right? So
yeah. We want to
Hunter.
We want to see as much social content as we can. So I think one of the questions we had before the show was around: are you allowed to share stuff from this? The answer is a resounding yes. Of course, we want this to go as far and wide as possible as a team. So this is the most exciting part for us, actually having the Cryptoverse out there, people playing it. We want as many people to see it. So please, if you're building something and you have time and no one's griefing you, screen record it. Screen record yourself building it, and we'll give you a prize. If anyone creates good content for us, and we'll put some rules out about this as well. We're going to reward that massively because that's so important to this project. It's important for everyone invested in this that we get as many eyes on it as possible. So please build stuff, share it, win these prizes. We want to see it all. We want it all out, unless it's totally game breaking and it all breaks. So don't share that.
Social amplification is key, absolutely pivotal, because the more people, the more creators, the more people building, the more users, the more people who own land, the more people who are building the ecosystem together, the more this metaverse will be a success for all of us. A metaverse is only as good as its users and its creators. We're at the start of that journey, but I have full faith that will be a really competitive, really good option for metaverse for users and businesses and brands alike. So absolutely, social amplification, get out there. We know it's early, that's okay, but it's fine to start building interest now. There was huge interest in the land sale. Got like a lot of landowners. There's been a lot of good interest since from brands and users as well. So like this should make people even more interested, because it's the first time people are stepping foot in the world. It's the first time they're seeing the features that was promised or that was talked about and wrote about in the light paper. So why wouldn't we want to amplify this? But yeah, again, it's always like pinch of salt. It's early doors. There's still a lot to do.
Yeah, you're right. And CryptoMonk just touches on there in the building competition, which I'm sure is going to capture a lot of people's imagination, which is what we want. Can someone screenshot his building? Well, he'll have to convince people that it's his. Has anyone played Among Us, where you have to convince someone that you're not the killer, or that So it'll be a bit like that. So you just have to prove CryptoMonk that you did it, or someone could try and prove that they did yours, and that's also fine. No, of course
It's
it's
a good
not.
question. That I never actually sort of.
Yeah, but you have like 500 witnesses, so
Yeah.
and you can see the people building in real time. It's not like people can take credit that easy.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, you can, if you're that worried about, so you can record. You can record your screen while you're building, and then you can use that as evidence if in the unlikely scenario that would happen. I mean, I didn't even think about that. So you've just given everybody a clue for sabotage there, Monk. So yeah, maybe record if you're genuinely worried about that, mate.
Thanks, guys. We're probably coming up to the end of the AMA, guys. So please just get your questions in now. We'll try and answer as many as we can in the next kind of 10 minutes or so. But just to recap, the first Cryptoverse playtest is happening next week, beginning Wednesday. So please get your applications in before Friday so you can make sure that you're a part of it. I think we're limiting it to 500 people. So get it in, and we'll send you this Friday whether you've been successful or not. During the session, you're going to be able to change your avatar and personalize it in your own style. You're going to be able to explore the central business district area. You're going to be able to race through the streets against your friends, and also use the builder tool that we've talked extensively about, as well as looking at a couple of events that are going to be happening every single day throughout the probably 7 to 10 days that it's going to be running. We're really
art
excited.
gallery as well. There's art gallery. There's there's a car showroom. There is an apartment that's been started to be laid out as well to kind of give an idea of how your apartment can be created. Yeah, there's a few other bits as well. So there's quite a bit to do, but yeah, it needs more. We're aware, but it's cool to start. It's a really good point for us to just pause, let users have a look, take feedback on what's been done, and keep pushing from there.
And I imagine this is going to be the first of many play tests as well, so it's not going to be kind of a one and done. I'm sure the team will be open to doing more in the future, and I guess this is just a start. But this is how it starts. More and more people will get access now in the coming months as we continue to build this out. I hope I'm not just committed the team to something there that we can't do, but I'm pretty sure we're going to keep opening this up to get testing as much as possible.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a balance of getting that feedback, getting users in, and then fixing and enhancing based on feedback against focusing and developing on the features and anything new that needs to come, and the content scaling. So it's not something that we want to do very often. We might do one more. But the obviously the kind of goal is to get people that get the world open indefinitely, probably by early Q3, meaning that everything from there is basically around continued improved and scaling, and we've got to a point hopefully by Q3 where we've got more or less a really good kind of base, solid base that can just remain open. That's the plan, and then the additional zones would come after, so it might be a different zone and then a bit of play testing around that, but get the hub open and people in hopefully by Q3.
There you go. That's really interesting. Thank you for sharing that. I think one of the other questions that we have that I think I've heard as well internally is, in the building tool in the first playtest, are all the blocks going to be white, or is there can you apply any of the textures to them? Is it going to be like Apple branded to begin with?
My question.
Can you repeat one more time? Sorry, I'm reading the chat.
My question was from the chat. So will there be any additional textures on top of the white blocks at the moment that you can use in the building tool?
Well, all these type of questions need to be answered by a couple of people, not just me, right? Like I can create the texture and put it there, but it needs to be hooked with logic, right? So One of the programmers needs to take a gallery of textures that I can create, which I can do, and then we need to have a blueprint that basically has the drag and drop functionality, right? But that's exactly the idea, like right now it's a white cube, but with the white cube you can create a house or whatever you want to create, and then just drag and drop different types of materials, right? So how to do that, we're still talking about it, but yeah, that's the
Probably not for this playtest. It probably is going to be mainly white tubes, but we can add other assets in there that are different colors. The drag and drop of the materials, which Mao is referring to, we haven't created the logic yet for to enable it to be dragged and dropped onto an existing, object, and then for that to then synthesize in real time. It's one of the next things that we want to do. It's not like that hard to do. We haven't done that yet. So yeah, we accept that maybe you lose a little bit of that immersion as a result, because they are most of the assets will be white, but rest assured that it is just for this playtest, and it's not, that's not the extent of what the builder is going to be about going forward.
Yeah, and because of all the different shapes, you can still be quite creative, I imagine, in building certain sculptures and structures. It's like building in marble, essentially. I'm sure there's some beautiful marble structures out there at the moment, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if it's something we have time to do before next Wednesday, then we'll develop the logic for it. We just can't promise it with how much is left to do between now and then in terms of just testing and refinement and polishing and whatever else. So we would like to be able to have a textures that can be dragged and dropped. But if not, what we'll probably do is we'll probably just preload some some other objects which aren't just white. So there's still a bit of color variation for users, and that's easy enough to do right now.
Mm-hmm. Correct. I'm more looking into the idea of having cubes of different sizes. Like that would be really cool to create like a. Do you remember those drawings that were made out of pixels back in the day? So it would be really cool to have the ability to do something like that.
Yeah, totally. I think we're coming towards the end of this. What I would just say as well is everyone that kind of attends or takes part in this is going to receive some sort of POAP that will announce in more details leading up to the event as well. So there will be, Rob, what does it stand for? Proof of
attendance protocol.
I would have guessed something differently. I should know that, given.
Yeah, but it's like, it's like basically because it's on-chain like token. It's like, when you are there, when it's claimed or when it's dropped to you, whatever, you are proving that you are attending. So the actual thing is, the POAP is a proof of attendance protocol. Yeah.
I thought the other P was for participation. Proof of participation, which I think we should call it that instead, right? Or am I?
Yeah, I mean, we could change it to POP, proof of participation. It's not a bad acronym, is it? It really don't matter. It's just the industry standard is everyone knows them as POAPs now because of the guys that originally did them, called them POAPs. So yeah.
Well, like if anyone doesn't know, like my name is Dan Pope. If you want to follow me on LinkedIn, I'm thinking like a Dan Poap. What do we think? Is that a thing? Can we make a Dan Poap?
Or a Dan Pop?
Dan Pop. It's just an option, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, I think one thing to remember with the POAPs or the POPs is that you won't be. We haven't hooked it up so that you click something and you claim and you automatically get it. It's going to be more a case of dropping users based on their ETH address for those that actually got access. The reason for that is because with regards to the wallet stack that we've created, we haven't hooked that up yet on the back end from an infrastructure point of view, because, well, again, just time limitations right now, and this is all where the ownership kind of stuff comes to as well. So yeah, it'll be more just a case of if you're successful in getting into the playtesting, it will be airdropped to your wallet address.
Cool. Okay. I think that about wraps us up. I want to say, I'll say thank you to both of you. Then we'll also finish on we'll repeat the trailer because I think it's cool. I think everyone should watch it if they didn't see it at the start as well. So thanks, Rob, for your time as always. You are a crypto sensei and the smartest guy I know. I think that's just up there.
Yeah, okay. You always have to like embarrass me, don't you? Like it's like mandatory for you to embarrass me, like in every AMA. I'm gonna stop coming, and then you're gonna get a community outcry.
Rob, you can embarrass me actually. What happened earlier when you joined this stream?
Oh yeah, so I came in and I like for those of you who don't know StreamYard, you go into kind of like the waiting room, and I was in the waiting room and Dan's like there like practicing like how he's gonna start the stream. I'm like, are you practicing, Dan? He was like okay, that's commitment, but it was a little bit cringe.
That is professionalism right there. And you'll be like, he practiced that? Really?
With all the ums and the ands, you didn't really nail it. You did better in practice than you did in the actual live event.
That's how I'm used to this world. You got to be a performer, and it's tough. Mal, thank you for coming in with your wisdom and knowledge as usual. I think you give
no problem. Can I give a shout to all the Spanish speaking? I saw in the chat somebody from Argentina, so I just wanted to say hola. And yeah, it's great to have people from all over, right?
How do you say champions of the world in Spanish, Mal?
Campeones del mundo.
There we go.
Congrats.
Argentina.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. I think we've got a Spanish Telegram that is actually really one of our most popular communities. So yeah, hello to everyone if you're joining us from that community. It's brilliant to have you. Right then, Cryptoverse playtesting begins in 9 days, I think, guys. Are you ready? Are you ready for this, guys? Or do you need to quickly go do all-nighter both of you?
At this point.
No, I mean, we've still got a bit to do to be confident, I guess. But yeah, I think it even if it were like today, we'd be like, okay, we can deal with it. But this time between now and then is going to be really helpful to dot our I's, cross our T's, begin to start to predict some of the issues we might think about we might run into or users might run into and such. So yeah, we're about ready, I think. Mal, would you say?
We're ready.
Good man.
We're ready. You heard it here first. Wednesday, the 25th of January, it kicks off. Sign up before the end of the week. Go to cryptoverse.vip to make sure you get a place for the most hype playtesting event in the next 2 weeks. Let's leave you with the trailer. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you next time in the metaverse.
Peace.
Thank you. Bye.